What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Week 1 edition of FanDuel Tournament Plays, brought to you by Prize Picks. I'm your host, Adam Scherer. You can follow me on Twitter at ShipMyMoney's DFS. And as a reminder, click the link below, claim up to a $100 first match deposit bonus at Prize Picks. Be sure to check out their site this NFL season. So, as I did with NBA, as I have been doing with MLB, going to be putting out a weekly tournament plays video for both DraftKings and FanDuel, looking at 3 of the top stacks in tournaments using the top stacks tool on the Stokastic.com website. This is week 1, starting with number 3. The Kansas City Chiefs are taking on the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. The Chiefs have a 29.5 implied total. They are 5.5 point favorites. Patrick Mahomes is projected for 12% ownership. The stack has about an 11% chance of being the top scoring stack and an 8% chance of being the top value stack. I'm not overly concerned about the ownership going to Mahomes, though, because there's a lot of ways to be different with this stack. And especially in week 1, I think it's going to be the case for the foreseeable future that there's a lot of uncertainty with how targets are going to be distributed on a game-to-game basis. I think there's just going to be a lot of volatility within this stack, which can be frustrating, but also gives us the opportunity to take advantage of it. And I think that's really going to be the case week 1 when we don't have any previous games to go off of outside of any conclusions you want to take away from the preseason, which probably aren't even applicable to week 1 of the regular season. But you have, obviously, Mahomes is great. You have one of the best quarterbacks in the league as part of the stack. You have one of the best tight ends in Travis Kelce. You know he's going to be heavily involved. But of the receiving core, you have Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Mecole Hardman, Sky Moore. We all have our best educated guesses at how these roles are going to play out and who's going to get the most targets. But that doesn't mean it's going to be the case. And obviously, even if I think the standard thinking is that Smith-Schuster and Valdez-Scantling are 1 and 2, Hardman's 3, Moore is 4. Even if that is the case, even if we're correct, the field is correct, that doesn't mean Mecole Hardman doesn't get open deep for a touchdown or Sky Moore doesn't get open deep for a touchdown. Like those things obviously can still happen as well. So my main point here is even though Mahomes is getting a little bit more ownership than the top stack percentage, there's going to be a lot of ways that you can build Kansas City stacks that offset that ownership by, taking chances on Mecole Hardman, Sky Moore. I haven't looked at individual ownership projections yet for wide receivers, but say Juju's getting a lot more than Valdez-Scantling, playing Valdez-Scantling instead of Juju. Like there's going to be a lot of combinations you can make with the Chiefs that help to offset that 12% ownership coming into Patrick Mahomes and still give you a massive ceiling getting to this offense. Number 2, the Atlanta Falcons hosting the New Orleans Saints. The Falcons are 5.5 point dogs. They only have an 18.5 implied total, only about a 4% chance of being the top scoring stack, but also only about 1% ownership with a 6% chance of being the top value. Atlanta's interesting to me, kind of for similar reasons as the Chiefs, although they're clearly entirely different teams. You shouldn't have anywhere near the level of confidence in Atlanta's offense that you do in Kansas City's. But the reason I say it's for similar reasoning is that we don't know what this Atlanta offense is going to look like. This is week 1. You do have talent here. This team isn't likely to be good. Marcus Mariota, you can say what you want about him as a passer, as a quarterback. At the very least, we know he can use his legs and he can run. He has a talented receiver in Drake London. He has one of the most talented tight ends in the game in Kyle Pitts. You have Cordero Patterson, who may or may not be used as a receiver a lot and catching a lot of passes. So even ignoring the Patterson piece, and even if we ignore Bryan Edwards and every other receiver on this team not named Drake London, there's a lot of receiving talent in Drake London and Kyle Pitts. There's a lot of rushing upside in Marcus Mariota, and this offense is getting 1% ownership. They're also not very expensive. Mariota $6,500, London $5,500, Kyle Pitts $6K flat. So you're getting a cheap offense that is a bad team. They're not likely to win a lot of games. They're certainly going to have some really bad offensive performances, but you do have talent here that just isn't getting ownership, and that is pretty appealing in large field tournaments. It's not very hard to see how some combination of Pitts and Drake London with Mariota at low ownership really comes through. Mariota runs it in once or twice, and then you just get Drake London and Kyle Pitts making plays like they do. Number 1, Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Detroit Lions in Detroit. The Eagles have a 26.3 implied total. They are 4-point favorites at the Lions. Jalen Hurts projected for 13% ownership, but there is a 14% chance of Philadelphia being the top scoring stack. Also a 13% chance of them being the top value stack. they have a lot of ways they can get there as well. Jalen Hurts clearly gives you a lot of upside with his legs. You have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, two very, very talented receivers that can make plays. Dallas Goedert is a talented tight end as well. So it just sets up as a stack where, there's a lot of upside here. This is also a team where we may look at them more favorably in week 2 and week 3 than we do right now, because they did run they were a rush heavy offense last year. There's no guarantee that continues this year, though. You have Jalen Hurts getting another year under his belt. You've added A.J. Brown to the offense to join Goddard and Devontae Smith. They could just throw the ball more. And there's a chance that you're going into week 2 saying like, oh, wow, this offense has an even higher ceiling than we thought because they throw a lot more. That may or may not be the case, but even if it's not, you still have legit playmakers in the wide receiver core. You have a quarterback that runs in Jalen Hurts. They look like a fantastic stack to get to. So to recap, the top 3 tournament stacks on FanDuel for NFL Week 1. Number 3, Kansas City Chiefs. Number 2, the Atlanta Falcons. And number 1, the Philadelphia Eagles.